Hello everybody and welcome to the football betting series here on YouTube, European Football Edition. We've got a few selections from the Champions League, Europa League and Conference League to get to, but before we do that we'll just quickly recap the month of February in terms of European football. Across our 6 bets we managed to take a profit of £33.40, just over 1.5 units, so we're doing pretty well in regards to that. And if you feel like I'm talking some sense today, please like the video and subscribe to the channel down below. Without further ado, let's jump into our predictions for the midweek European football, the 7th, 8th and 9th of March. We start off with Chelsea hosting Dortmund, and Chelsea continued a run of 3 straight losses following their 2-0 defeat at the hands of Tottenham Hotspurs. This does mean that the Blues are now winless in their last 6, and that's a run dating back to a 1-0 win against Crystal Palace in mid-January. On the continent, Chelsea score 1.4 goals from 2.3 key chances created per 90. Defensively, they concede at a rate of 0.7 goals against, with 2 clean sheets in their 7 matches played. The visitors, Dortmund, come into this fixture following a 1-0 victory against Hoffenheim. The Black and Yellow are doing exceptionally well, presiding over a 11-game winning streak, and this does include a 1-0 victory in Germany against Chelsea a few weeks ago. In Champions League football, Dortmund are scoring 1.6 goals per game and creating 2.1 key chances per 90. Defensively, they concede 0.7 goals against, with 3 clean sheets in their last 7 matches. When we look at the head-to-head records, these sides have only ever played 1 game, and that was a few weeks ago. Chelsea may feel a bit hard done by not to have left Germany with some kind of result. The Blues lost 1-0 to Karim Adeyemi's superb solo slaloming sprint, but the stats do tell a different story. Despite a near 50-50 possession split, Chelsea won on shots, outcreated Dortmund, and they won the XG battle by 2.2 to 1.49, hence them feeling a bit hard done by. This game does go a little bit deeper than stats though, as Potter has not managed to field a consistent lineup, managing injuries, morale, and tactical familiarity with a crop of players who have not had a pre-season to work out their kinks. I really do like Dortmund here, not necessarily to win the game, but to go on and qualify. I think if they score, the tie's over, and Chelsea may have some fight left in them. The lack of lineup consistency and tactical familiarity will see Dortmund prevail in the end. Borussia Dortmund to qualify for the first bet in this episode. Our second Champions League match sees Bayern Munich hosting PSG in their second leg, and Bayern Munich won their most recent fixture by 3-0 against Union Berlin, bouncing back from their earlier defeat to the hands of Borussia Mönchengladbach. This does mean that the Bavarians have now won 5 of their last 6 games in all competitions. In the Champions League, however, Bayern score an average of 2.7 goals per game and create 3.4 key chances per 90. Their defence is immaculate, 0.3 goals against, 6 clean sheets in their 7 matches. Now they face off against the top side in France, PSG, who have won back-to-back games domestically since their defeat to the hands of Bayern Munich. In European competition, PSG score 2.3 goals per game from 2.1 key chances per 90, defensively conceding 1.1 goals a game. They haven't kept a single clean sheet in any of their 7 Champions League matches. Looking at the head-to-head record, Bayern Munich have won the last 2 encounters by 1-0 and have won 4 of the last 5 encounters. In the first leg this season, Bayern Munich were comfortably winning up until the substitution of Kylian Mbappe in the 57th minute. This change revitalised the Parisians and they did have a goal chalked off, but ultimately this was to no avail, losing that game 1-0. So, looking ahead to this second leg, what do we expect? I think we expect goals. The first leg was a tense and tight affair, but now PSG know that they must score in order to qualify. If Mbappe is on from the start, I expect a flowing and attacking game from the French, and Bayern Munich aren't naive enough to sit back and invite too much pressure. In recent games, Bayern Munich have seen over 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 matches. For PSG, this number stands at 6 of their last 7 games. Additionally, PSG have not managed to keep a clean sheet against Bayern Munich in each of their last 6 encounters. If an early goal goes in, especially for PSG, the lid will come off this game. Over 2.5 goals is the way forward. Our third and final Champions League match sees Spurs host AC Milan, and Tottenham lost their last game 1-0 to Sheffield United in the FA Cup most recently. I'm sure they would have had one eye on this particular fixture, but let's be frank, Spurs should be winning against the Championship side, regardless. Spurs have been inconsistent though, winning 3 and losing 3 of their last games, and in the Champions League score 1.1 goals per game from 1.3 key chances per 90, defensively conceding 1 goal per game, 2 clean sheets in their 7 fixtures. The visitors, AC Milan, come into this game following a 2-0 win against Atalanta. This does mean the Milanese side have now won each of their last 4 games, all of which without conceding. In Europe, Milan score 1.9 goals per game and create 3.1 key chances per 90. They only concede 1 goal per game and have managed 3 clean sheets in their 7 matches. When we look at the head-to-head record, Milan won the first leg by a solitary goal, which seems quite fitting as they were largely in control throughout the contest. Looking ahead to today's game, I think there's a lack of goals in this one. When we look at Spurs, they've seen under 2.5 goals in 5 of their last 6 games. Milan have seen this occur in 5 of their last 6 games as well. And when we look at the head-to-head record, across the 5 historic matches, we've always seen under 2.5 goals. In contrast to the last selection, I can see Milan managing a low-scoring affair in defence of their first leg result. This game could easily finish 0-0 or maybe 1-0 to Milan, so under 2.5 goals is the selection here. Moving on to the Europa League now, we have 3 selections in this competition, kicking things off with Roma versus Sociedad. And Roma managed to lose against bottom of the league Cremonese by 2-1 in a shock defeat. A game in which, if Roma had won, would have propelled them from 5th place all the way up to 2nd in Serie A. In the Europa League, however, Roma score 1.6 goals per game and create 3.5 key chances per 90. Defensively, they concede on average 1 goal per game with 2 clean sheets in their 8 matches. They host the Spanish side Real Sociedad, who, in their last fixture, lost 1-0 to Valencia. In terms of form, Sociedad are not doing great. They've won just 1 of their last 6 games in what has been quite the downturn. In Europe, however, Sociedad are scoring 1.7 goals per game from 2.2 key chances per 90. Defensively, they're pretty strong, 0.3 goals against, with 4 clean sheets in their 6 matches. With no head-to-head record to go off, I'm going to go straight into the prediction of under 2.5 goals. This is the first leg of the round of 16 in the Europa League, and both sides are not going to want to throw away what may be their best chance to qualify for the Champions League next season. Additionally, Roma have seen under 2.5 goals in 5 of their 6 games, and the visitors, this is true in 7 of their last 8, under 2.5 goals in our first Europa League bet. Pressing on, we have Sporting hosting Arsenal, and Sporting won their last game by 2-0 against Estoril. This does continue a run of 3 straight wins, and they are unbeaten in their last 4 competitive fixtures. In Europe, Sporting are scoring 2.5 goals per game, creating 3.5 key chances per 90, and defensively conceding 0.5 goals against, 1 clean sheet in their 2 Europa League matches. They host an Arsenal side who dispatched Everton by 4-0 with relative comfort in order to keep pace with Manchester City at the top of the Premier League. Arsenal have now won each of their last 3 games since a poor spell in early February and may just be back to their best. In the Europa League, Arsenal scoring 1.3 goals per game and creating a magnificent 3.7 key chances per 90. Their defence is also strong, 0.5 goals against, 4 clean sheets in 6 matches. With no recent historical record to go off, I would like to back Arsenal here to get a result in the first leg. The Gunners have been especially good away from home in the Premier League this season, with the best record in the league. This being said, Arsenal are in their first title challenge in quite a while and may want to prioritise this over the Europa League, so there's a bit of room for error here. I'm going to take Arsenal to win against Sporting for a half stake. Our third and final selection in the Europa League here sees Union Berlin hosting Union Saint-Gilloise. And Berlin lost their last game by 3-0 at the hands of Bayern Munich last week. However, prior to this, they were unbeaten in each of their last 9 matches since the World Cup break. In Europe, Union Berlin are scoring 0.9 goals per game from 1.4 key chances created per 90. Defence is strong, 0.4 goals against and 5 clean sheets in 8 matches. They host a St. Gilloise side who are winless in each of their last 3 matches, losing their most recent fixture by 4-2 against Westerlo. In Europe, however, they are scoring 1.8 goals per game, creating 2.5 key chances per 90. The defence could use some work, 1.2 goals against and just 2 clean sheets in 6 matches. In what has been a strange twist of the Europa League format, these sides actually played each other in the group stages, both sides winning 1-0 away from each other's venue. And both of these games were close run affairs. The average stats also reinforce this. Possession split down the middle at 50-50 and both sides averaging 0.6 expected goals. However, Union Berlin edged the contest in shots, shots on target and key chances created, so there's a slight leaning towards them. This small statistical edge in the head-to-head as well as their recent forms, I'm leaning towards Union Berlin, but again, just another half stake. We're going to finish up today's episodes with two selections from the Europa Conference League, or UConn. Starting off with AEK versus West Ham, and AEK have lost their last league game by 2-1 against Apollon Limassol. The Cypriots are now winless in each of their last 3 matches. Dropping out of the Europa League and into the UConn, AEK now average 0.5 goals per game, creating 1 key chance per 90. Their defence, 0 goals against and 2 clean sheets in 2 matches in this contest. They host the Premier League side West Ham, who were defeated by Manchester United by 3-1 in the FA Cup, courtesy of 2 late goals. This loss does continue a poor run of form for the East London side, and they have won just 1 in their last 5 matches. In the UConn, however, West Ham are scoring 2.2 goals per game from 2.5 key chances created. Defensively solid, 0.7 goals against and clean sheets in 3 of their 6 games. With no hope to qualify for European football by the league this season, and no real risk of going down, I would expect West Ham to attack the UConn. Remember, the winner of this contest gets a spot in the Europa League qualification the next season. West Ham to win on the road in our first UConn bet. Rounding things up in the UConn, we have Sheriff Tiraspol hosting Nice, and Sheriff turned the tables on Partizan in their last game to win by 3-2. With a number of postponements in Moldovan football, Sheriff will be lacking some match sharpness here. However, in the UConn, they are scoring 1.5 goals per game, despite only creating 1 key chance per 90. Defensively, they do average a goal conceded per game, with 0 clean sheets in their 2 fixtures. The French side Nice are in really good form, winning 3-0 against Monaco in their recent game. That did continue a run of 8 games without a defeat. And in the UConn, Nice are scoring 1.3 goals per game, creating 2.2 key chances per 90. Defence is somewhat concerning, 1.2 goals against and 1 clean sheet in their 6 group stage matches. And going with a similar philosophy to West Ham, Nice will really struggle to gain a European spot this season. They're currently 9 points off Lens and Monaco for a Europa League spot, so they're probably going to go all out in this contest in order to qualify for Europe next season. Nice to win on the road to wrap off the UConn and wrap off this episode. So there we have it. A bumper episode containing 8 selections across 3 competitions, starting off with our single selection in the Champions League on Tuesday night. Chelsea play Borussia Dortmund. We're going to be taking Borussia Dortmund to qualify, not to win the game, but to qualify. Odds of 3-4, £20 stake to return 14.80. Moving on to the Wednesday night action, Bayern Munich versus PSG. Over 2.5 goals, odds of 1-2, £20 stake to return 10.40. Elsewhere, Spurs are playing AC Milan. We're thinking we're going to have under 2.5 goals in quite a tense and low-scoring affair. Odds of nearly 9-10, £20 stake to return 17.20. Moving on to the Thursday night action in the Europa League, starting off with Roma Sociedad. Under 2.5 goals in a tense affair. Odds of 6/10, £20 stake to return 11.80. Elsewhere, Sporting versus Arsenal. We're going to be taking the away sides at odds of 11/10, £10 stake to return 11. And our final selection in the Europa League, Union Berlin versus Saint-Gilloise. Union Berlin to win at home, odds of 6/10, £10 stake to return £6.30. And finally, in the UConn, we're going to be taking West Ham to win against AEK in lovely Cyprus on the road. Odds of 6/10, £20 stake to return £12.40. And our final selection, we're going to be taking Nice on the road against Sheriff in Moldova. Odds of 9/10, £20 stake to return £18.60. So in this upcoming midweek, we're going to be risking £140 to hopefully try and pick up as much as £102.50. Will we do so? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's to tune into next episode. But if you have made it to this point in the video, please drop a like down below. And as always, have yourself a lovely day.